Hello and welcome to Nikon Report, your weekly roundup of all the latest Nikon news and all other photographic announcements that we found interesting. It's Konstantin here, and on another side of the screen
is Becky.
All right, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm fine. I can see you need to stabilize your footage because you keep just going from left to right, you know?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. The camera's on one of those special boat gimbals.
It's a gimbal that can support the whole cruise ship, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't worry, I'll extra stabilize it in the post anyway.
Thank you.
All right, well, let's get to it. So we've got delivery updates from the United States and UK. The first one up is Z9 is apparently being fulfilled in the United States. So apparently the waiting time is about 2 months nowadays in the United States. Also, Amazon US had the camera briefly in stock, and obviously that's sold out in 5 seconds. Do we have any updates on Z9 from the UK, Bex?
So we had a small delivery last week, which we were anticipating. So things are moving along quite nicely. It would be great to have more, as always, but I don't yet have a sort of lead time. If you order now, you'll get it in XYZ number of months. I think we're still probably a few shipments away from having that kind of level of prediction, but at least stock is coming in. That's all I can say.
I think the situation with the deliveries is improving a bit, so we are getting at least more cameras in one go.
Exactly. Lenses is another matter, but we do have free stock of the Z30, and I believe that there is also free stock in the USA as well.
Yeah, that's true. And then also apparently Z100 to 400 is becoming frequently in stock in the United States at least. So B&H had some in stock last week, it's now sold out. Now Adorama says 2 to 5 days shipping time, so that's pretty good. Now let's move on to the rumors. So we had a very interesting rumor that is either rumor or it could be just a mistake. According to the user Broxyback, who is a Nikon Rumors user, he spotted a social media post by Nikon that mentioned Z600 f4 lens.
Yeah, so the post was on Instagram, and it was posted from the Open, and it was an official Nikon post, and it said, "We're delighted to have extended our partnership with the Open, etc., etc." Photographer Matthew Harris captured these action-packed shots using his Nikon Z9 camera and Nikon Z600 f4 lens, showcasing both speed of the swings and stunning landscape of St. Andrews. Now, later on, the social media post was actually changed to the AFS Nikon 600 f4e FLE DVR lens, which obviously would have gone on via an FTZ adapter. That's a mistake that you would think would be picked up quite early on. It's odd that it managed to make it all the way onto Instagram before it was picked up, if it wasn't a Freudian slip, shall we say.
Yeah, I think nowadays, obviously, because we are moving into mirrorless and a lot of people using Z system, and if you are a marketing person who does all the social media, you probably mention Z either camera or lens all the time, so it would be easy to slip through the cracks. But what do you think, Bax? Is it a typo or a leak?
I mean, I'd love it if it were a leak. Just because for once the leaks come from an official channel. But I do think it was a typo. I don't know what the gentleman was using. I'm sure that if he'd been using a 600Z, it would have been spotted by other photographers and someone would have posted it somewhere else. So considering that this is the only sort of glimpse we've had of a 600 f4Z lens, it's probably just a typo, sadly.
All right, well, I will be the devil's advocate and I say it's going to be a leak. And the reason why I'm saying this, it's a quiet time now, so we need to grasp on straws here, you know, just any rumor will do right now. But I know that you went to Open last year and you're supposed to go this year, and then obviously your trip happened, so you cancelled it. So it's really a shame because you would be there, a reporter on the location, and you would check it with Mr. Harris and what lens he uses. So it's a shame you're not there, really. Maybe next year then.
Yeah, next year I'll be on the lookout for any other Z lenses that have been surreptitiously leaked, for sure.
Yeah, I think you should wear a camouflage dress and then a funky hat, which is very common to British events.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They'll not see me coming.
All right, well, let's move on to some other Nikon news. There weren't many this week, but Chinese website Xitek published an interview with the developers of Z30 camera as well as Z400 lens. Now, Obviously, Z30, it's kind of, they talk about the design and why they chose to design the camera for this specific user base, etc., etc. Now, for us, it's a little bit more interesting Z400mm lens. So we've got some questions that they asked the designers of the lens. So, it's translated from Chinese. So we saved you time so you don't have to read that, but we will read it out for you right now.
That's right. So first question up is the Nikon 400 4.5 is an f4.5 lens. Why is it set to f4.5? In the past, these lenses were usually f4. Now, the answer was when we designed this 400 lens as an f4, the size and weight increased significantly, and the price would also then increase. Considering the balance of the product, we set it as 4.5 to guarantee its portability.
That's very interesting. So they've chosen the price and the size of the lens over the larger aperture. And I personally don't see much difference between f4 and 4.5. And if it does give you an extra game in terms of size and weight, then it's, I think, much better. Now, they also asked what the focusing speed is like of 400mm lens. And while there was no specific answer given how many, let's say, mileage per second, whatever, but they said it's on par with 100 to 400 lens, but actually it rivals it, so it should be even better.
Exactly. Now, the focal length of this lens and the lens such as 100 to 400 are repeated, and what's the actual difference for the user was the next question. They answered that the 400 4.5 combines the high resolution characteristic of a bright prime super telephoto with a soft bokeh effect for enthusiasts who value lens portability. The Z100 to 400 is for users who need a wider focal length range. So it's kind of a very nice way of saying horses for courses.
That's true. It's a range over image quality, isn't it? So you would choose versatility over zoom over the image quality of a prime lens.
Exactly.
All right. Then they asked, did the research and development for 800mm went into 400mm as well? And they said, yes, the philosophy that went into designing 800mm lens to make it inexpensive, small and light went to 400mm as well. So that's why the price is really good. Now, the question that came up in our comments and on different photographic forums was that why they didn't use phase Fresnel element? Why is not PF? Because technically, if you put the PF glass, then you can make it f4 and you can make it very small and light. And that's what people think based on 300mm f4E lens and 500 5.6. Now, the answer was, they said that, in fact, that during the research and development, they tried to use a PF elements in there and make it f4 as well. But in order to realize the product concept of small in size, lightweight, and convenient, they finally chose a solution of 4.5. So it seems to me that they've done some tests. It didn't really work really well, and it would probably will slow down the manufacturing of the lens as well as make it a little bit bigger, heavy, and more expensive. So it seems like it didn't work. They decided just to go with 4.5, the traditional way, and that's what we have on our shelves right now.
There you go. If you'd like to read the full interview, including information about the Z30, then we've included a link in the description box and the podcast notes just for you.
Fantastic. Let's move on to third-party news. The first one up, we got to Venus Optics Laowa announced 10mm f4 Cookie APS-C/DX mirrorless pancake lens for Nikon Z-mount. It's only $299. Extremely compact and lightweight. It's a DX lens, but ultra wide. If you can see it on the camera like Z50, it looks very tiny. Now, apparently, it will have stunning 10-point sun star. So if you photograph in lights, that's going to be quite good. Low dispersion, 12 elements in 8 groups, and $300 at a weight of 130 grams. So very small and light. Some of our viewers asked us to compare this Laowa 10mm lens with the 10mm OP lens, the Audi that we have for sale, and it's quite rare. I think it might be a very interesting comparison just to see how that lens from a while ago will compare to something modern and very inexpensive that is available right now.
You know what the difference would be, though? The issue with the OP lens is that it would have to go on an FTZ, so it's going to be actually, although the OP lens itself is quite small, it's going to be quite big on a DX camera. But it would be an interesting comparison to make for sure, just to see how the optics have come along, if at all, at that focal length. Actually, we have a first look review by Christopher Frost on this lens on YouTube. So if you'd like to have a look at the initial impressions, him popping it onto a Z50, then you can go and check that out. We'll include the link for you.
That's true. So basically his conclusion is, well, it is a very inexpensive lens, so you get good value for money. It's not ultra sharp, and you can't expand the lens to be ultra sharp for that amount of money, for $299. But for the size and weight, again, it's one of those kind of little additions that you can put on your camera. And obviously, being so wide, your depth of field is huge. So generally, the focusing shouldn't be any issue at all.
Great. All right, next up, all Meyer Optik Görlitz announced that their lenses will be available for the Z-mount soon. That includes some very interestingly named lenses, including a Lidith, as opposed to Lilith, 30mm 3.5 Mark II, and a Trioplan 50mm f2.8 Mark II, which are both already available. They've also got a Primoplan 58mm f1.9 Mark II and a Primoplan 75mm f1.9 Mark II. Now, the 58mm is available in about a month's time, and the 75mm will be available at the end of September. So we'll have a whole bunch more native Z lenses to throw onto our cameras.
The more, the merrier. I have a question to our viewers. If you have experience with Meyer Optik lenses, do put your comment below, because we personally, we don't have any experience at all. So we wonder how good they are, what they're being used for, what's it the range like. So if you do own one of those, do give us your opinion in the comments below. Now, coming back to Laova, Laova updated their Nanomorph 1.5x anamorphic cinema lenses to fit Nikon Z-mount. So anamorphic lenses are generally used by cinematographers to create this beautiful flare lines. If you watch something like Star Trek recently, then you would see those. Now, the good thing about Laova lenses is that they're very inexpensive. They're about £1,000 each, which is for anamorphic lenses of that quality is really, really good. And then they have three options available for you. So it's a 27mm T2.8, 35mm T2.4, and 50mm T2.4. The cinematographer's lenses are measured in T-stops instead of F-stops. That's the reason, but they're quite similar. So have a look at this. We have a review as well available at New Shooter website. So if you're interested in cinematography on Nikon Z cameras, that would be an interesting lens to consider.
For sure. All right. Now, next up, Yongnuo is rumored to announce a 16mm f1.8 full frame autofocus mirrorless lens for the Nikon Z-mount. To be honest, we don't have any more information apart from one leaked photograph of it that is on photorumors.com. It would be interesting to have a full frame autofocus lens. We haven't got anything that wide in a prime of a native Nikon Z lens, so it's an interesting choice if it's true.
Absolutely, and that's a autofocus lens, so which is a good thing. We're obviously waiting to see the, I think, 23 or 35mm lens that they've just released, and the pre-production model is for sale. So it would be interesting to see more autofocus lens for Z-mount. Obviously, those are more of a budget of offerings, but again, it gets more people into the system. Now, coming to accessories as well, a company Shorten released FZ1 lens adapter designed for using old school AI or AAS type lenses on Nikon Z-mount. So think about it as a FTZ adapter without autofocus at all, even with the AFS type lenses, and also doesn't pass any electronic information, so there's no metadata about the aperture or the focal distance of the lens. Price at $80. It's very inexpensive. So in terms of this, if you do have a lot of manual focus lenses like Becky, it's probably a cheaper solution than, let's say, buying brand new FT1, FTZ, or FTZ Mark II adapters.
Yeah, I also think part of the logic behind this is that it has that similar kind of design to manual focus lenses in there's sort of grip portions which mimic some of the older lenses, the older aperture rings on lenses. Obviously, those parts don't actually do anything. It's more cosmetic than anything else, but it's sort of trying to match. They've even put not quite accurate Nikon F-script logo on there. So I think for the aesthetics of the thing, if you want a very small FTZ sort of to use on your manual focus lenses, then that's certainly one thing that you could use. It also weighs 160 grams, so it is metal. It's not actually dissimilar in weight to the FTZ, but it's an option there for those who don't have an FTZ already and maybe just have manual focus lenses.
That's true. They do look charming, I agree. And then in terms of this, you have a silver version as well. It's not like Nikon made many silver lenses. From my memory, I only know the 45 Pancake. From manual focus lenses, they did release some silver plastic autofocus lenses. That was 28-200 silver. But in terms of proper metal silver ones, all I remember is 45 Pancake. Do you remember any other lenses?
Yeah, I'm trying to think now, actually. I don't know any chrome finish. I mean, pre-AI lenses, obviously, some of them were predominantly chrome, or they had like a chrome waistband or whatever.
Yeah, but not full chrome.
but not full chrome. So I wonder if it's maybe just for those people that want that, or for the occasional few that have a 45mm pancake lens, potentially.
All right. Well, if you're an avid viewer, it's time to fuel up your Google search or go to Wikipedia and do let us know what other chrome lenses Nikon made for Nikon F-mount.
And moving on to our reviews section, the Voigtlander 50 f2 Apo-Lanthar lens has been reviewed by a few people. First up, we have Camera Labs. Their final verdict is that the Apo-Lanthar is an excellent large aperture standard lens. It's not for everyone. Shooting moving subjects without autofocus is next to impossible. But if your subjects are mostly static and you know how to precisely nail focus manually, then the excellent resolution of fine details and superb clarity of this lens can net you shots that are visually outstanding and hard to achieve with any other lens.
Well, they highly recommend this lens. I don't agree in terms of fast-moving subjects. You know, some people who use manual focus glass or maybe rangefinders, they have this thing which is called zone focusing or hyperfocal distance focusing, where you pre-focus to a certain distance and increase your aperture to cover, so your depth of field covers certain distance, or whatever is within this distance, within this area is going to be sharp. You saw me taking pictures of the seagull flying off the roof, when we were testing the lens. So it is possible. It was action shot. I didn't spend time pre-focusing on that bird before. So you effectively set the lens up to a certain focal distance, close down the aperture, and here you go. So it is possible, but it does require a little bit more work from the user. So of course, I agree that maybe if you're shooting events or let's say weddings and things like this, you need to have fast focusing just because you don't know where you're going to shoot. But if you don't use it for professional use, let's say, or really fast-paced action, street photography is very doable with this lens.
For sure. The only other things that they disliked about it, because there was a lot of things to love about it, is they said it has strong focus breathing, which is very true. It has no weather sealing, and obviously it's a higher price than Nikon Z50 1.8S. But we can counteract that with our own review.
That is true. That is true. And if you would like us to compare 50 f2 Apo Voigtlander lens with Nikon 51.8S lens, do let us in the comments below.
Yes. Now, in the meantime, we have actually reviewed this lens ourselves, and our review went out about a week ago, a little bit over on YouTube. So we did a walkabout with street photography and the 50 f2 Apo-Lanthar on a Z6.
That's true. It seems like we became the place for Voigtlander Z lenses reviews on YouTube. Nikon Rumour has recently published an article with the reviews of Nikon lenses, and only YouTube links were asked. So if you're a Voigtlander user and you would like to know how they perform with Nikon, we are the place. We're going to publish the 35 f2 Apo lens review as well very soon. I think it's in the works as we speak.
But the fact that Nikon Rumors have shared our videos makes me think maybe we're going up in the world.
All right, the next one up, we have some reviews on newly released Z400 4.5 lens. The first one is Morten Himmler, who is really well known. This video has 70,000 views, so you probably saw it, but I didn't. And he tests this lens somewhere, obviously, in the wilderness, as he always does, with 1.4 teleconverter.
Yes. Now, we've also included a 400 4.5 VRS lens review by Vahan, or Vahography. He says he's blown away, and the cover actually says shocking results. I think he was very impressed with this lens. Considering that his sort of daily photography isn't necessarily bird photography, he's got some stunning shots on there, so that's definitely worth checking out.
All right, and then we have Petapixel published review on Z800 f6.3 VR lens as well. So lots of reviews this week. So what did they say, Becky, on this lens?
They were very impressed. They said it's in a class of its own. They said, but what's the catch? I don't know. I genuinely have no idea why this lens doesn't cost double the $6,500 price mark that Nikon's asking, because I think the company could have gotten away with it. For photographers that can't get enough focal length, the high-end 800mm lenses always come with the understanding that they will be huge, heavy, and expensive. This lens is not any of those things comparatively. And from my experience, no great sacrifices are being made either. So basically, they love it, which is great.
That's true. No animal sacrifice, etc., etc. But, I also think about the financial department at Nikon, where they thought this review and then they couldn't sleep for the whole night because they thought, oh, we could have charged more, but we didn't.
Kicking themselves. We also have an 800 PF review by Illuminations from the Attic. The subtitle is Best Wildlife Lens, ? So obviously, this lens is getting a lot of love. They are quite difficult to get hold of, so if you are patiently or impatiently waiting for yours, you might have to hang on a little bit longer, but it's obviously going to be worth it in the end. So rest assured that the wait will be completely and utterly worth it.
Fantastic. Okay, let's move on to Weekend Read and Watch. So the first one up is how the Nikon Z9 mirrorless camera came to exist by those who created it, by f-stopper. So this is basically behind the scenes on creation of Z9. Very interesting article, something that we didn't see before, so do check this article out.
Absolutely. And now we also have Shooting Cities, Urban Architecture and Street Photography in Rotterdam by Nikon Europe.
For some of you who is on Rishi Watch 2022, he is in this video, so he's in Rotterdam with some Nikon creators capturing the city in its finest. So do have a look at this, very interesting. There's a couple of other Nikon Europe videos with Rich in there, so you can check those out as well.
Excellent. And next up we have the Nikon Z9 2.1 firmware, A Birder's Perspective by Matt Irwin. Now Matt, obviously most of you will know, is not a wildlife photographer, but he brought along his mate Joe, who is an avid birder, and they've tested out the Z9 2.1 firmware. He was very, very impressed with it. And also, we have to say a huge congratulations for the 30,000 subscriber milestone. That's quite an achievement. It's lovely to see another person in the photography community with that many subscribers really, really creating some wonderful content. So well done, Matt.
That's true. And also last weekend, we also reached 14,000 subscribers ourselves. It's not as a big milestone as Matt, but we also quite happy. So thank you for everyone who subscribed to our channel.
Yes, I'm waiting for my silver play button. That's when we get to 100K, right?
Is it 100K or a million?
100 for the silver one, a million for the gold one.
Do you think we can achieve the 100K in this lifetime?
It would be so lovely. I think with our level of content, maybe 100K by the time we reach retirement age. We'll see.
That's true. But we do appreciate you, the viewer, for doing what you do and subscribing to our channel, liking our videos, and also sharing your opinions in the comments below. The last thing we have, it's not the least one though, the new issue of Spider-Man confirmed that Spider-Man is still using DSLR. So here you have it, folks. The gods have spoken. So apparently it is also a 900th issue of Amazing Spider-Man. So it's to celebrate the 60th anniversary. And the cover is created by Maria Wolf, who is quite well-known cover artist.
That's right. They said they're pulling out all the stops.
Yeah, do you think it's f-stops?
It must be f-stops. I actually think it looks like he's using a film SLR in that picture. Spider-Man was originally always known for using film cameras, but 60 years ago, you know, go figure.
That's true, but it doesn't fit the narrative for Nikon stopping DSLRs, Becky.
I'm just glad to see that he's not using mirrorless yet and that he's sticking to some form of tradition.
That's true. The moment he switches to mirrorless, we all switch to mirrorless.
Spider-Man is the ultimate influencer.
So that's going to be the end game.
And that's all we have for you this week.
Thanks for joining us today.
Yes, thank you very much for watching and or listening. Please give us a like. Please give us a subscribe if you're on YouTube. Give us a follow, a rating, perhaps a review if you're listening on a podcast platform. It would be massively appreciated.
That's true. We're available on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on Amazon Music, all the world in high fidelity. So do check this out as well. And you can also find us on other social platforms like Instagram.
Yes, I'm on Instagram at Rebecca_Danese. The shop is at Nikon at Grays, and Con is at Konstantin Kochkin.
Konstantin Kochkin. You got it right. Okay, well, thanks for joining us today. We're not going to have live stream this week, so do check out the other videos that we post in the meantime, and we will be back with another Nikon report next week. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.